10 terrifying supernatural tales from the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail. Over 2,000 miles of breathtaking beauty, a sanctuary for anyone seeking peace in the wilderness. Millions have walked its paths, but some hikers bring back more than just memories. They return with stories. Stories of strange lights in the dark, disembodied voices on the wind, and shadowy figures that defy all explanation. Are they just tricks of a tired mind? Or are hikers truly brushing up against something supernatural? Tonight, we're counting down 10 of the most chilling legends and hiker accounts ever to come out of the deep woods of the Appalachian Trail. Section 1. The Stories. Number 10. The Whispers of Sarver Hollow. Our countdown begins with a classic trail legend at the ruins of an old homestead, where the Sarver Hollow shelter now stands. For most, it's just a place to rest, but for generations, it's been known as a place with a spooky reputation. The legend says a ghost named George haunts the shelter, restlessly walking the grounds. Hikers have shared tales of lying in their sleeping bags at night and hearing a faint rhythmic tapping, like a cane on stone, with no one there. But the creepiest part of the legend is the whispers. People claim to hear soft murmurs on the edge of hearing, like a conversation happening just out of sight. You can't make out the words, just the rise and fall of voices where there should only be silence, lasting until the first light of dawn. Number 9. The Phantom of Pierce Pond. In the remote wilderness of Maine, Pierce Pond is a place of quiet beauty, but it's also home to a ghostly legend. The story often centers on a lone hiker, enjoying the solitude by a campfire, who sees a figure moving just beyond the light. It's usually described as an old-fashioned outdoorsman, maybe holding some fishing gear. When called out to, the figure doesn't respond. It just walks parallel to the campsite before fading into the darkness. The legend says the phantom might return the next night, this time stopping to stare with a hollow, empty gaze that chills you to the bone. It's a silent warning, a message that you're not welcome, and that it's time to go. Number 8. The Lights Above the Roan Highlands. The Roan Highlands are famous for sudden, violent thunderstorms, but according to local folklore, some hikers see more than just lightning. One of the most common tales from this area involves mysterious, tiny lights seen dancing in the bushes during a storm. At first, you might think it's a type of bioluminescent fungus, but their movement is said to be too coordinated, too intelligent. Believers say they swarm and pulse with the rhythm of the storm. What's strange is that most accounts don't describe the lights as threatening. Instead, hikers report an inexplicable sense of calm, as if they are ancient spirits watching over the mountains, leaving them to wonder if it was a stress-induced fantasy or a genuine encounter. Number 7. The Ghost of Bluff Mountain. This next story is rooted in a heartbreaking real-life tragedy. In 1891, a 4-year-old boy named Oddie Klein Powell vanished from his nearby schoolhouse. Weeks later, his body was found lifeless on Bluff Mountain, 7 miles from where he was last seen. A small monument now marks the spot. Ever since, a legend has persisted among hikers who claim to see the apparition of a small boy wandering the area, as if still looking for his way home. One of the most chilling accounts that gets passed around involves a couple camping near the Punch Bowl shelter who were supposedly woken by the sound of a child sobbing just outside their tent. Frozen with fear, they waited until the crying faded with the night. It wasn't until they hiked out the next morning that they passed the memorial for little Oddie, a place they hadn't known was there. Number 6. The Watcher on Waya Bald. Waya Bald in North Carolina is known for its historic stone fire tower and incredible views. Among locals, though, it's also known as a place you don't want to be after dark. One story that makes the rounds tells of a group of camp counselors who decided to sleep on the bald. Throughout the night, they were unnerved by deep, sorrowful moaning sounds coming from the tower's base, which they tried to blame on the wind. Just before dawn, one of them awoke with the intense feeling of being watched. She scanned the darkness and saw a tall, shadowy figure standing motionless at the edge of the woods, blacker than the pre-dawn sky. It didn't move or make a sound. It just stood there, watching, She squeezed her eyes shut, and when she opened them again, it was gone. Many hikers report feeling an unnerving presence there, and local lore suggests that the spirits of ancient Native Americans still guard the mountain. We're only halfway through, and the legends only get more intense from here. If you're enjoying this journey into the unknown, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We have 5 more chilling tales to go, and you don't want to miss the most frightening of all. Number 5. The Silent Stalker of the Smokies. Have you ever been walking in the woods and suddenly everything goes quiet? That's how our next story starts, a type of encounter that's been reported up and down the trail, especially in the Great Smoky Mountains. The usual chatter of birds and squirrels just stops. All you can hear is the crunch of your own boots. Then, you hear it. Another set of footsteps, heavy and deliberate, pacing you from just inside the tree line. When you stop, the footsteps stop. When you start again, so do they. But you can never see what's making them. In some versions of the tale, the hiker holes up in a shelter for the night, listening to twigs snap and what sounds like low, guttural breathing circling them for hours, a terrifying psychological game played by something unseen. Number 4. The Vanishing Trail. Losing the trail is a hiker's worst nightmare. But what if the trail loses you? That's the core of a truly bizarre and disorienting legend. The story usually involves a hiker who is diligently following the trail's white blazes, only to realize they haven't seen one in a while. When they try to backtrack, the path behind them is simply gone, replaced by dense, impenetrable forest, as if it was never there. In a panic, they might pull out a compass or GPS, only for the GPS to show their location as a blank spot, miles from any known route. Sometimes the legend includes finding strange footprints, barefoot and too small for an adult, that lead them in circles before abruptly ending, leaving the hiker hopelessly lost with hours of time unaccounted for. Number 3. The Burned Man of Catawba. Our number 3 spot goes to a tale that feels ripped from a modern horror story. This legend appears to be a more recent addition to trail folklore, and it's a grim one. The story goes that in 2011, a solo hiker near Catawba, Virginia, was sitting by his campfire, trying to ward off a growing sense of dread. Suddenly, a figure stepped into the ring of light. The hiker described the man's clothes as charred and smoking, his skin covered in horrific burns, and his eyes as vacant and white. The figure didn't speak. It just stared with a gritty intensity before turning and walking back into the pitch-black woods. The terrified hiker abandoned everything and fled. The story often ends with the claim that the hiker later learned from a local sheriff that just days earlier, a house near the trail had burned down and a family had perished inside. A detail that has never been substantiated, making it a chilling but unverified piece of campfire lore. Number 2. The Haunting of Wapiti Shelter. Like the legend of Little Oddie, our number 2 spot is another story born from a horrific real-life event. Wapiti Shelter in Virginia stands near the site where 2 hikers were murdered in the 1980s. Ever since that tragedy, the shelter has earned a dark reputation. Hikers have shared stories online and around campfires about what they claim to have experienced there. The most common report is the terrifying sound of blood-curdling screams echoing through the valley in the dead of night. One anonymous hiker posted about being jolted awake by a woman's scream, not in the distance, but right outside the shelter. It was supposedly followed by frantic shouting, then a horrifying silence. Convinced he was about to witness a crime, he waited in terror for over an hour, but heard nothing else. No sirens, no other people, nothing. Some believe it's a residual haunting, the echoes of a tragic event replaying itself for anyone unlucky enough to be there. Number 1. The Patient Hunter. And finally, our number 1 spot. This isn't so much a single ghost story as it is a modern legend, a cautionary tale that blurs the line between psychological trauma and a supernatural predator. The story, often told about a hiker caught in a freak blizzard, begins with hypothermia and exhaustion. Battling the elements, the hiker starts seeing fleeting shadows moving between the trees. He's eventually rescued, but the ordeal isn't over. He's plagued by nightmares of being back in the snow, but in the dream, he can clearly see what was stalking him. A tall, impossibly thin creature, with limbs that are too long and eyes that glow with a cold, faint light. The creature never attacks, it just watches patiently. Even when awake, he catches glimpses of a tall shadow at the edge of his vision, convinced that something ancient followed him off the mountain and is now waiting for him in his dreams. So what's really out there in the deep woods of the Appalachian Trail? Are these just stories, the product of tired minds, tricks of the light, and folklore passed from one hiker to the next? Or are they echoes of real tragedies, ancient spirits, and things we just can't explain? Perhaps the trail is a place of such profound history and mystery. It can't help but create these legends. The ancient mountains hold onto the echoes of all who have walked them, and sometimes those echoes are heard again. Let us know what you believe in the comments below, and if you have your own chilling story from the trail, we'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this countdown into the unknown, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the world's most mysterious places. Stay safe out there.